What's the one thing that I can do today that would make everything else better or easier? Second one is something amazing has happened or will happen today. The third one is this is future me telling you that thank you, that you've pushed through, you kept going, we got where we wanted to. Thank you, I love you. And pronoia. And then the third one is pronoia. Who can I be of service today to make their life better?
Oh, wow.
Let me invite you to sit back, drop your jaw, tongue, and shoulders. Take a deep breath, and if you wish, close your eyes for a moment and feel the beat within. In a few seconds, you just jump from head to heart and feel the beat within, opening up to receive even more value and fulfillment out of your business and life and today's episode. I'm your host, Nico van der Venne, confidant to successful CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs striving to achieve everlasting fulfillment. Welcome to the Everlasting Podcast with our next guest, Rebecca Murray. Now, to introduce Rebecca, I think the word entertainment and education flows in, a mix that's so beautiful because he is an edutainer. So like communication combined with education and with practice. She delivers the message in the most entertaining way possible. Welcome to the show, Rebecca. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm wonderful today because I'm meeting with you today. I've been looking forward to this for weeks now.
Oh, wow.
It's like Christmas morning.
Wow. Thank you for the compliments. No, educator, edutainer. It's kind of a words flow in different directions there. Can you explain to us your story, how you got there, and especially, of course, how the struggles got you here? Because I think that's the thing that my listeners most certainly want to know.
Yes. Well, I have this picture on my desk. In fact, I'll show it to you. Of me when I was barely 2 years old. I'm in the living room, and on the back, parents used to write things on the back of photos back when they were printed.
True. Yes.
My mother writes, she sings, dances, plays the harmonica, then claps for herself. And I've always been one to entertain myself. My living room, it has been a stage throughout my life to rehearse, and sometimes just to whether it's living room karaoke and it's just me singing to myself. Now of course there are apps for that, right? But I have this philosophy that if you can be your own best entertainment and learn to enjoy your own company, then the company of others. And if you have the opportunity to craft an experience where you can entertain each other, that's icing on the cake. But first and foremost, to appreciate yourself.
Wow, that's a totally different perspective from what I usually talk to people about. Is from it starts from within the self, and then you go out, and what you're saying is exactly the same, but in a completely different perspective. I love that. Really. Yeah.
Well, something that you said when you opened about the heartbeat, closing your eyes, taking a breath, and getting centered in that way. I read the most fascinating article this morning and watched a little bit of the video. I was just Googling 26 seconds because it's like our brain has the ability to truly stay focused for about 26 seconds.
Okay.
When someone else is speaking, which would encourage us, when we think about it, to be as brief as possible in our communications, and then to stop talking so that someone else can speak and we can listen, to keep that ball going back and forth.
Yeah.
And what your introduction reminded me of in this video is that the earth itself has a beat, a pulse every 26 seconds.
Oh.
It's like a small seismic, it's like a mini earthquake in a way.
Mhm.
It's like it's this, and they've been trying to figure out exactly what causes it, where it's the epicenter is,
Uh-huh.
um, and the same, like our heart beats
Mhm.
at a certain rate, that sort of thing. And if we speak more intentionally, more thoughtfully for shorter periods of time, that it allows us to sync up with other people.
Okay. Okay, that's a very beautiful description. One of the things that I've learned in the past, because I work with different kind of practices, and usually it's kind of the stuff that comes in front of me. Is it within a book? Is it within podcasts or whatever source it may come from? Um, One of the things that I've learned is that humans have become so shoe bounded, where we wear shoes and slippers the whole day long,
Mm.
while actually we should step out. My kids for instance, they do not wear slippers in the house. They're actually,
Uh-huh.
half the time they walk around naked, barefoot, outside as well.
Did you
Naked.
almost say
I
naked?
said almost that naked, but naked feetses.
Naked feet.
Naked
Naked feet.
feetses.
Yes, barefoot. Barefoot.
Yes,
Yes.
barefoot.
Here,
Uh,
I'm
Each
barefoot
their time.
today.
Oh, there you go, there you go. You're already into it. Okay,
I'm
nice.
always barefoot. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's something I've lost, and I must admit, past couple of weeks, months, I've started realizing maybe I should just,
Mm.
you could call it a grass, but we don't call it grass anymore. We call it the green zone, because we have more flowers of different sorts that are there than actual grass. But I should
Uh-huh.
walk on the earth, really, back as in the what people
Ah.
used to do. And that's what I
Uh-huh.
read, where uh, if you want to reduce your stress,
Mm-hmm.
one of the ways of doing it is just standing on solid ground
Mm-hmm.
and just
Mm-hmm.
staying there. And I always love going into silence, but that's something now. There's some links there. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, right. But well, all of the literature says, and to help us gain clarity and focus, go outside
Hmm.
for 20 minutes,
True.
be in nature. There's nothing that can do it faster and more, um, I don't know, lasting, I guess,
Hmm.
than a little trip outside. And maybe what you're saying is also, if it's not freezing, if it's not snowy, take off your shoes and feel the grass between your toes.
Yeah, yeah. I would
Yeah.
indeed kind of put a boundary on coldness and stuff like
Yes,
that.
definitely, definitely.
It's not really my style to go and stand outside in the cold, like some people do these cold baths and stuff like that. No,
Yes,
it's not my thing.
but to listen to the wind, listen to the birds, listen to the noises that we mostly block out,
Hmm.
and take a deep breath in to smell. It to just to experience your senses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because like today, like this weekend, basically, I've been building a piece of a shed next to my house, and I was going all the way, not thinking, just building, because it has to be ready in a short period. They're doing our garage,
Hmm.
stuff like that. And I was not paying attention to any sounds in the vicinity or whatever. And we have like this enormous amount of birds in our garden, and I live in a very rural area, so a lot of houses,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
on each roof there is at least two or three birds there. And then you have the trees that are kind of the nests are in there. And my kids were walking outside and they were like, wow, it's really noisy outside. And I'm like drilling and shawing and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, I know. No, Dad. No. It's nature. And I'm like, wow. So you're telling me to stop right now and listen? And yeah, that's what happened. I stopped and listened just for a few seconds. And it's such a
Uh-huh.
big difference where you're in work mode or active mode. And then when you stop and just listen,
Hmm.
the brain starts to listen as well, and the body
Hmm.
starts to listen, and a form of peace comes over yourself. And it's yeah, I love that. I love that.
Your children sound very wise for their age.
Yeah, well, they take after their dad. What do you want?
Pat yourself on the back,
Oh,
Dad.
yes, I will. I will. Yes, yes. No,
Well,
they are.
Mother's Day was yesterday. Do you celebrate
Yes,
Mother's
we
Day,
do.
Saint?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
There's two
And
dates actually, depending on
uh-huh.
which province you live in. I think in
Oh.
Antwerp they celebrate it a little bit later in the year, but yesterday was Mother's Day here as well. Yeah, indeed. Hmm.
And you did what?
I called my mom
Okay,
and
good for
said Good
you.
Mother's Day, and that was it. I was actually gonna go over on Saturday, but then something came up. But my
Oh.
parents live a little bit away from here, so I called them regularly. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
no, my mom was happy with a phone call. She doesn't really want any, flower stuff and so on. They live in a small apartment. She's always like, if you put anything else
Yes.
in here, I might find my way to the bathroom. So I'm like, okay,
Yes.
let's keep it simple and
Yeah, keep
good
it
Mother's Day.
simple.
Mm.
Exactly. Not extra stuff. Again, going back to extra words, there's only so much
Mhm.
that our space can take in our home in terms of stuff. There's only so much room in our brain
Mhm.
for words. We're only going to remember so much. So let's streamline it all. Right.
Yeah.
Let's remove the clutter. I sometimes watch myself. I record most of my presentations,
Mhm.
and I think even though I focus all the time, because I largely talk about using fewer words, better words, listening more, being more intentional about your word choices, I still feel that I could cut out 50% of my words and be 100% more effective.
Mm.
Every single time I watch myself, I think I can do with fewer words. Now there's a balance. There's a balance there between um, enough words, the right words, making room for other people. I mean, you don't want to come off, stilted.
Mhm.
You still need to bring your whole self to the party. But I think in general, we are inundated with so many words coming from so many sources
Mm.
that it is difficult for our brains to deal with it all.
Yeah, I get that. Where I also I've had a training last year, insights discovery and this profile system with colors and so on. But one of the
Hmm.
things that I found interesting, and that's something I did that with my partner, and it was clear that she had a need for a lot more information, a lot more words when she
Mm.
was doing a task work wise,
Hmm.
and not so many words when we are in our private conversations. We talk a lot. We do
Yes.
actually
Yeah.
talk a lot. We're both in business. So she started hers recently. I've been in business for 5 years, 8 in total, basically. But we talk about it a lot. And in those terms, she's also very clear on understanding who I am. I need little
Hmm.
words. I don't want to
Hmm.
hear the whole story on how you got from Tokyo to Berlin and then back to Brussels. And I don't need that. I just need to know you were on a flight and you got here. That's me.
Yes, that's me too.
It's really simple, straightforward. On the other
Yes,
hand,
yes.
while I'm doing podcasts, I love having these conversations because you go into subjects that need more explanation, that need more
Uh-huh.
words. And
Yes.
it is like you say, a very sometimes a challenge to find that balance on
Hmm.
what's the amount, how much do I
Hmm.
have you talking, how much do I talk. It's one of the
Yes,
things that,
right.
yeah, I kind of noticed that as well, when I re-listen all the podcast episodes as well.
Yes.
And
Yes, yes, yes.
it's so strange, it's yeah.
Right, right. I think of it as the bouncing beach ball. So we're on a beach
Mm.
together. I've got this big ball which represents words, and as soon as I throw it into the air, there's a little silence there, which triggers your brain like, "Oh, good, I have a chance to talk." So, which means I better be listening because we're having a conversation, which means that most of the time what I say will connect somehow with what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Then you catch the ball. It's your turn to talk. Again, going back to this 26-ish seconds thing, if we
Yeah.
go on too long, if you go on too long, then I'm probably going to pick up another beach ball and hold on to it myself, because my brain now is starting to go with words and I can't listen to you and my own words at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So this brevity of, I'm going to stop talking. Nico, here's the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I take over.
Mhm.
Just for the people who are just listening and not seeing any video, she put her hands on her mouth just to be quiet there. But
It
I
takes
used
discipline.
yeah, well, yeah, it's true, knowing when to stop, basically.
Yes.
I know a couple of people who do not know how to stop, but I used to have
Yes.
this. I had the 7 Habits of Stephen Covey
Uh-huh.
training at
Yes.
some point, and they
Yeah.
give you a talking stick. It's a beautiful crafted thing. It's like a little
Mm.
bit. It's Indian, Native
Mm-hmm.
American, sorry, uh, and with a little feather on
Yeah.
it. And actually, the idea is to pass it on and have that person who's holding it explain whatever the subject is, of course. And I've tried using that, but it's awkward for a lot of people. And I don't mean for the
Uh-huh.
person
Mm-hmm.
who's talking. I mean for the rest of the meeting.
Right. Because everybody's looking at the stick thinking, when are you going to be passing it to me?
Yes.
Do you think that's part of it? Like
Yeah.
they're already thinking about what they might say,
Hmm.
and they're distracted because they're in their own head. They're not really even listening.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
yeah, that's it's kind of an inherent human thing
Mm-hmm.
where we
Mm-hmm.
love talking about ourselves.
Mm-hmm. We do love talking about
I've
ourselves.
been trying to learn, and that's what I usually do with my coaching clients as well. Is they are talking, I am there to ask questions.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
not there to tell them whatever they need to do or this or that. And I always love this saying from one of the coaches here in Belgium, Benjamin Ball. He says, "A coach runs on zero RAM memory. There's no active memory.
Mm.
They are just there to ask questions."
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it sounds simple,
Very good.
but once you're there, it's not.
Yes. Well, that reminds me of the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Have
Mm,
you read that?
ah,
He is a retired FBI hostage negotiator, one of the most famous
wow.
hostage negotiators of all time. He teaches at Harvard now. He's written this book. Basically, what he does in this book is he takes what he's learned, both successes and failures as a hostage negotiator,
Mm,
where lives are on the line,
yeah.
and then applies it to business, to sales conversations, really
Mhm.
is what it is. Where in a sales situation, especially a negotiation, you don't ever want to be the one doing all the talking,
Yeah.
ever. You need to do what you just talked about as that zero RAM
Mhm,
analogy, to be the one that's very clear of mind with
mhm.
the fewest words possible, listening, 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 and engaging with silence, being comfortable with silence. And most people are not. And that's your edge. That becomes your superpower.
Yeah, absolutely. And now everybody's thinking, "Oh no, something's wrong with my cell phone."
Yeah, yeah,
The
I
sound
know,
just
right?
went off. What,
Because we're both waiting.
what's going
These
on?
disappeared.
Well,
Well, that's what
they
they
just
say.
stopped talking, and I don't know how long it was. Like 2, 3 seconds, not even.
Yes, not
I
even.
it's amazing. Silence is
It
such a
is.
powerful thing.
Oh, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yes. I love what Gandhi said about silence. Now, if I can remember the quote, something like, uh, it basically, be silent unless your words can improve it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I think
right?
it's a little bit different saying,
It's
but
different.
the gist was
Yeah.
exactly that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my older trainings, which is it's a more spiritual training that I followed before I actually started being a coach, and the very first lesson was Um, sit in silence and listen to the solution.
Mm.
And it was really directed towards, life is challenging.
Yeah.
That was like the major gist. Life is challenging. You come up with a lot of challenges and problems and blah, blah, blah. Um, and the gist of the story there was, if you want to find a solution to a
Mm-hmm.
problem or a
Mm-hmm.
situation, go into silence and listen to the solution that will come out of the problem. Because usually the
Mm.
solution of a problem is within. And I was, the first couple of weeks I was following this training, I was like, what are they talking about? I did not understand.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment that I actually said, okay, so they're saying I need to go into silence, and the first maybe 5 to 10 times, it took me 2 minutes, and I couldn't resist the moving or whatever. And it's not
Yeah.
meditation, it's really actually trying to be silent. uh,
Yes.
and after a while, now I think it's about 8 or 9 years that I've been doing it. And indeed, the chair behind me, you see that one with the green thing on it,
Yeah.
that's my silent chair. So if I go sit there, my kids know
Oh.
that I'm in silent mode. There's also a TV on that side, but let's forget
Oh.
it. So it
That's
really,
interesting.
yeah.
To have a
It's,
place that you go that you will always be silent there.
yeah, yeah. It's
Oh,
it's an amazing spot, and it becomes
yeah.
a habit, a real habit of sitting there and even yearning for that silence.
Yes. Wow.
Mm.
And how has that practice helped you in your life?
In a lot of ways. I used to be prone to panic attacks and
Mm-hmm.
from wonderful fear and all that
Mm-hmm.
beautiful stuff as an entrepreneur, of course, or as just a person, because everybody experiences them. But and when I started my business in 2020, like 1 month
Uh-huh.
before the COVID
Mm-hmm.
lockdown, which was perfect timing, of course. Yes, everybody loved that period. Um, that first week, it most certainly helped me to center myself and believe that there
Mm-hmm.
was a way out, that there was a future, and that there was a next step. Because that first week, nobody knew what was going to happen with this pandemic story. So that's one of the things that it helped me with, go through. And it's more or less sitting there and taking something that's happening and working
Mm-hmm.
through it. And other people might go for a run, or they might go into the
Mm-hmm.
forest and or go on excursions or whatever. That's my way of doing it. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just silence.
Well, of course, what you're doing is not really related to silence. If you're looking at what you
True. I mean,
do.
yes, it is. It is and it isn't. You know what it is more? It is whether we are emailing, whether we are in a conversation,
Hmm.
facilitating a group discussion, or on stage giving a presentation. It
Hmm.
is making room for the human brain to have time to absorb what you say, to get clear on what you're saying, to say it in as few words and as engaging as possible, and also to um, invite other voices in the room
Hmm.
to engage with you. I rarely do a full on presentation where I'm just speaking. I'm always crafting in how to get other people up on stage and give them the microphone, how to go down into the audience and give people a chance to use their own voice. Because how else will we learn something unless we can apply it,
Hmm.
start applying it,
Hmm.
and then teach it in a way so that that person can go to somebody else and say, hey, guess what I learned? One, two, three. And now, since they've taught it, they've become the teacher. Now they know it even better.
Yeah, I see what you're doing. Yeah. Hmm.
I think of it, I was a dog trainer for many years. I have two examples of this. One is the dog trainer analogy.
Okay.
So you can train potty training a dog, for example,
Mm-hmm.
potty training a dog. And there's a way to do it well. There's a way to do it wrong. And when we do it wrong or make mistakes as humans, the result of that is that the dog potties on the floor.
Yeah.
They're not pottying in the yard, they potty in the house. That's the mistake that we have made because we've allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
How we compound the mistake is when we go to the dog and point out the mistake that they made,
Yeah.
that we really made, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dog just it goes into fear mode.
Yeah.
They're confused. They're afraid of us. This crazy human. Why are they screaming at me? Versus in the moment training, shaping a new behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So we can shape a behavior. Let's say they start to potty in the house, and we're like, oh, and then we're right there. We open the door and we take them outside, and they finish pottying in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we praise them like as they're doing it. That's in the moment training.
Yeah.
It's similar to Annie Sullivan when she was teaching Helen Keller the word water.
Uh-huh.
So water's flowing from the pump
Mm-hmm.
onto Helen Keller's hand. Helen Keller can't see, she can't hear, she can't speak. And then Annie Sullivan is signing the word water into her hand
Yeah.
as the water's flowing over. So in the moment training, if we can, in our message that we are hoping to impart to make the world better,
Mm-hmm.
is do it in a way that we can engage people, then we're that much closer to giving them the opportunity to put it into practice, teach it to others, so that it becomes part of their life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I guess that's why the voices in the room really is the bigger message behind the edutainment, because if you can include others and they're having fun, they're more likely to take something that's valuable.
Yeah. So you do this, let's say you're on stage, there's a lot of people in the audience, and you walk around in the audience and stuff a mic under their nose and ask them.
Yeah.
You must be a very scary person when you do that.
Well, what's interesting, because I let people know it early on that this will be part of it.
Oh yeah.
And I warm them up too, because sometimes there's exercises where they get to talk and now they're excited to share. There's always going to be, all it takes is that first person.
True.
And then more people are willing.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a session, it was a sort of a goal session with my story around don't wait till it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had breast cancer a couple years ago.
Okay.
And I found out that I had breast cancer after I put on a one-woman show that I've been thinking about for a long, 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 long time. It was during COVID. I just said, you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. I did it. And 1 month later, I found out I had cancer.
Okay.
And so I have this presentation that's, just don't wait. I didn't know that cancer wouldn't kill me when
Mm-hmm.
I found out. But my first thought was, I am so glad I listened to myself
Mm-hmm.
and did it anyway.
Yeah.
People thought I was crazy. This is COVID. No one's going to come. And I'm like, you know what? If I'm the only person that comes and I can stand afterward knowing I've given it my all and give myself a standing ovation, then I have won. Then I have won.
Absolutely.
So that's part of this message that I try to. So it's a workshop for people to then focus on their own dreams, and I try to motivate them a little bit through my own story. So, but you're right. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm not going to share. I don't want to share. That's just too scary.
Mm-hmm.
So I go over to this one table. There were a group of women who had a translator. Their English is a second language. They
Mm-hmm.
speak Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I'm saying is being translated into these headphones that they're listening to. So I walk over to the table and I say, I wonder which one of you who here would be willing to share what they're working on, their dream. And this, I'm just standing there. It's like the silence thing. I just sort of stand there with a smile on my face until one woman just gingerly raises her hand. And so I'm working with a translator.
Uh-huh.
She shares out loud that she has a dream of becoming a social worker, but she doesn't have the money for college.
Okay.
And as soon as we hear from the translator her dream, a woman on the other side of the room says, "We have scholarships. We have scholarships that we can give you, and please see me at the break." And then another woman in the back of the room, "We have scholarships too.
Oh,
Please see me
wow.
at the break." Two scholarships because that woman used her courage
Uh-huh.
and her voice
Uh,
to share her dream,
mhm.
and now her dream can come true. That was it's such an incredible moment for everyone in that room, and that message of, if you have a dream, don't keep it to yourself.
Mhm.
Share it with someone else so they can help your dream come true.
That's that's beautiful. It is so simple, yet it's so difficult.
It is so difficult.
Yeah, it's something. I've been walking around with an alarm on my cell phone. So I've got four alarms each morning, except on the weekends because I like to sleep in, and otherwise I get woken up.
Yes. 4 alarms.
Well, yeah. So the first one is, what's the one thing that I can do today that would make everything else easier? That's the first one I see. It's like a normal text. I'm like, just a reminder.
Oh,
Second one is, something amazing has happened today, or will happen today, or has happened today. The third one
okay.
is, this is future Nico telling you thank you to push through and keep going. We got where we wanted to.
Oh,
And
wow.
then the fourth one is called pronoia. Who can I help today, or who can I be of service today to make their lives better? And pronoia is the reverse of paranoia. It's something that I learned really recently. And I'm like, I've put it in there because there's a lot of stuff that you're saying, speak out your dream. The
Yeah,
world is not there to be against you. We might look
right.
at, news and all the horrible stuff that's going on, and absolutely 100%, 1000%, there's horrible things going on. And there's a big contrast in our world on rich, poor, war, freedom, whatever. But this thing is something like, I was in a conflict a couple of months ago. I was in a conflict with I was in a conflict. The person that I'm talking about, will talk about, was not in the conflict. I was like, this person is always asking me difficult things. I cannot
Mhm,
cope with how she asks them, how she reacts to
mhm,
me, and so
mhm,
on. And I was kind of entering into a world where I was afraid to ask anything or say anything or do
mm.
anything, because I would get the image that I was doing it wrong.
Yes, yes, feel criticized.
Yeah, yeah, but
Yes.
she never criticized me. She did one time. She actually told me I was doing something wrong, and then she corrected it, and then she moved on. For her, it was like a spot moment. For me, it lasted so long. So she touched me somewhere. I don't know where. A very,
Yeah, yeah.
very, very sensitive nerve. And
Yes.
once I heard this pronoia, I was intrigued. I'm like, pronoia. I've never heard of this.
How do you
And
spell it?
then PRO, um, prono Pronoia. It's kind
Okay.
basically it's paranoia, which just, instead of para, it's pro. Yeah, it's like, the
Wow.
world is against me. No, the world is there for you. And if you look
Uh-huh.
at this story, even with yeah, basically the podcast right now, how we met each other.
Uh-huh.
A couple of weeks back, we I asked one person, "Would you be on my podcast?" And he asked the other, and he asked the other, and there was as nobody in all the conversations I had, who I asked, "Do you want to be on the podcast?" who said no. Everybody
Uh-huh.
wanted to, because it's
Mhm.
something fun. It's something that it's neutral. It's
Mhm.
something that you
Mhm.
just do. And if you're not okay with showing yourself or talking about it, you won't even
Yep.
come on my path. Basically, that's what I think. So
Yeah, yeah.
to me, it was another clear example of how the world is there to help you. Because if you talk
Uh-huh.
one on one with somebody, that person will help you. If you don't
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
the question, like you just said, I want to be a social worker, I don't have the budget, and you stand up and you say that, and then indeed these things happen. I've seen
Yeah.
them happen with other people. That's
Yeah.
why I just put it in my cell phone as a reminder every morning. I get it at 10 past 8. Beep, 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 beep,
All
going off.
You get all four of them at the same time?
After 5 minutes. Everyone
After
5 minutes.
one every 5 minutes? Can you repeat them?
Oh, yes, I can. So, so the first one is, what can I do today? What's the one thing that I can do today that would make everything else better or easier?
Mm-hmm.
The second
Mm-hmm.
one is, something amazing has happened or will happen today.
Uh-huh.
The third
Uh-huh.
one is, this is the future. This is future me telling
Mm-hmm.
you that thank you, that you've pushed through, you kept going,
Mm-hmm.
we got where we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to. Thank you, I love you. And then the third one is pronoia. Who can I be of service today to make their life better?
Mm. Oh, wow. Have you heard the phrase four alarm fire?
Oh, no, I've never heard that.
Four alarm fire. A four alarm fire, if you're a firefighter, this is all hands on deck.
Okay.
Like this is a big one. It's a big one. It's going to take all of our resources, maybe even the resources of another fire department.
Hmm.
And I was just thinking of, I mean, I think you've really hit on something here with your four alarms.
Wow, that's
To
a link
like
I would never have made. Yeah.
using the words. You say you're going to, be publishing something
Hmm.
soon. I
Hmm.
just think there's something to this method that you're using with the four alarms. It's very catchy and meaningful.
Yeah, yeah. I've been using it for a couple of months now,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
especially because I've relaunched my business. I've been, we're doing something completely different for the past 2 years, relaunching the
Yeah.
business, and I needed that motivation, self
Yeah.
motivation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right.
this works. It really does. It's like especially that when I see the alarm of something amazing has happened or will happen today. Um, it's one of the things that I always, I put my hand on my heart and say, thank you. Wow. Yes, it
Right.
has,
Yes.
it will. So it's something that always, it hits you, always in the right spot. And the funny thing is, so my cell phone, I don't take my cell phone to my bedroom. And my kids are up
Mm-hmm.
earlier than I am usually, especially on
Mm-hmm.
the weekend. And
Mm-hmm.
they also get these alarms. So they see it,
Mm-hmm.
they, snooze it or they stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a couple of weeks ago when my wife was downstairs and she saw something amazing will happen today. And I woke up a little bit later and came downstairs and she's like, that alarm that you've put out there, something amazing. I woke up
Mm-hmm.
to you this morning and that was my amazing thing. I was like, wow, wow, wow,
Oh.
and this is the effect of what some things that you do in your own life, and it
Yeah.
sounds like it's simple for you, but it can have such a big effect on other people that it
Yeah.
might even reflect back to you.
Yes. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And don't press the snooze button on these alarms.
No, no, we do not. No. Accept them as they are and just say, yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, that's interesting. I use the word alarm only in one respect in teaching classes on brevity, and the focus is, I talk to people sometimes. They've received feedback
Mhm.
that they talk too much, that they use way too many words to get to the point.
Uh-huh.
Kind of like what you were saying. I don't need to know how you got from here to there, back here
Mhm.
again, everything that happened in between. I
Mhm.
just need the bottom line kind of deal. And so it, it people avoid them as a result. They don't get promoted as a result.
Mhm.
Their boss keeps trying to work with them to no avail. So when they come to me and they share this, I ask them, as you are chatting on with someone,
Mhm.
and you notice that they're basically asleep with their eyes open, right? I mean, we we know this look. We know the
Yeah,
glazed
yeah.
over look. People are starting to look around, grabbing for their phone, that kind of thing, like to try to get away from you.
Mhm.
I said, "Do you hear an alarm going off in your head?"
Uh-huh.
And then she says, "Yes, but I press the snooze button
Hmm.
and I keep going." Like I can't help it. But here's the thing is that at least she hears the alarm.
Yeah.
That's awareness,
Yeah.
right? That's awareness. And now you, in talking about, using alarms in this way, that also increases your awareness
Hmm.
of yourself and your purpose
Hmm.
and your goals, both long and short term. I
Yeah.
think it's
Absolutely.
brilliant. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really need to do something with this. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It's something that I started doing, and yeah, and I understand what you
it's
mean
very
by
simple,
it is, yeah, and
very
especially
simple and
and
powerful.
usually our systems are the cell phone these days are almost
Mm-hmm.
hooked to our hand, and I
Yes,
see a lot of people with these smartwatches. So of course you
yes,
get the alarm there as well. I don't want anything electronic on my body when I'm sleeping or anything, so
yeah,
I don't
me
do it.
too. Though, yeah.
But yeah. Uh, I have the very personal experience of meeting a person who does not have an internal alarm,
Mm.
and I think even a snooze button with that internal alarm during a conversation, 9 minutes is a very long time.
Yes.
So that person is she's amazingly intelligent. She has a knowledge span that is so wide and so deep as well that it's amazing
Mm-hmm.
even to listen. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
sometimes she goes off into, I call it the zone, but not in the positive zone way. It's like she's out of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
zone, zone out. And we're in meetings where we want to talk about specific things that
Mm-hmm.
needs decisions. And
Mm-hmm.
I joined the team 2 years ago, and one of the biggest issues they had was there was chaos. There were interpersonal issues. People didn't like people. Stuff didn't go right.
Mm-hmm.
And that leadership was very directive and not very personable. Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And I came in, and I love chaos. I'm a chaos person. I walk into chaos and I make it structure. That's what I love doing in the work environment. Don't look at my desk right now. I love the
Uh-huh.
camera. It's nicely directed to the rest of the room. That's very
Uh-huh.
clean. My
Uh-huh.
desk is war zone. But people are thinking, like, I have an image. I have an image. So this person is as well. She starts when you bring up like a subject that is related to. I do a lot of stuff with training. She goes into the whole history
Mm-hmm.
of how the
Mm-hmm.
training was created, who created it, how many times they were done, blah blah blah, which was completely irrelevant to the one
Mm-hmm.
decision where we just
Irrelevant.
had to say, are we going to
Yeah.
plan it or not? And of course,
Yes.
how would you
Ah, yeah.
you see me coming miles away. How
Uh,
would
uh,
you tackle a person that does not have an alarm clock, an alarm,
mhm,
sorry, not an alarm clock,
mhm.
but an alarm, or does not see the social, what do you call it, triggers or indications, like you said,
Yeah,
cell phone.
yeah.
How would you tackle that?
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'll just say one thing because it's, you leave an impression of yourself when you talk too much,
Yeah.
and you're unaware that other people are in their mind telling you, please stop talking, right? You're totally unaware of it. And it doesn't leave an impression, it leaves a scar. And so what happens then is people are like, they don't want to ask you any more questions because they're afraid that that's going to keep happening. And I don't have time for that. The only way that can help somebody is to have a private conversation with them
Hmm.
and to somehow impress upon them the the um, the benefits of brevity. That Jim Vandehey's book that just came out last year called Smart Brevity is a really good place to start because and a person like that would love it because a lot of it's just brain science. It's eye scanning
Hmm.
studies and brain science, but it's packaged in a way that is audience focused, and it's trying to get that person also to be aware it's not about you. We don't care how much you know. We don't care how smart you are, how many facts. We do not care.
Yeah.
And somehow I need to help you understand that we don't care and to start caring more for me.
Hmm.
you know, it's start caring more for your audience
Yeah.
than you do for your own voice and these facts that no one cares about. The only way to do that is to have a private conversation, to start, which is, awkward.
Yeah.
It's awkward. Um, and maybe Jim Vandehey has a fantastic TED talk that's very short,
Mm.
18 minutes, right? A great book.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, and the person can start seeing, oh, okay, I see the effect that I might have on others. And then you have like a secret squirrel. You say, okay, so when you're doing this, when you're being Carl Sagan or whatever,
Nice expression.
what what indicator can I give you? Like
Mm.
an oral indicator? Would you like a visual indicator?
Mhm.
Something that I'm doing with, scratching my head, pulling my ear?
Mhm.
What would be helpful to you? That and then when you see this, you can pull it back in and stop talking.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way to do it.
So it's not the way that I did.
Oh, how did you do it?
I had a communication training, well, more than 10 years ago. I was in my 20s, and this trainer was like, if people don't shut up, show them to shut
Yeah.
up. And I was like,
Oh,
okay, let's try this within our lovely leadership role. And he's like, I'm gonna do it in front of the camera so that you see the effect. But he's like, okay, I know, I understand. It was nice. So
oh, put your hand up to
yeah,
their face.
really, disconnect the eyes and then
Oh,
take away. It's really grabbing. Basically, it's grabbing the person's voice and pulling it towards you, which is, you're taking ownership of the situation because I'm holding it here now close to me. And her
so you're
reaction
cutting
was,
them off. You're cutting them off.
actually, you are, but you're
Yeah.
doing it. I love what you're saying, but actually, we're talking about this point now. Can we go
Yes.
here? And it's really
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
physical, and it's not for it actually kind of worked, but it didn't really catch
Hmm.
on right away because I was very far away. I was, just like five
Well,
people away.
yeah.
But if you do this and
To have,
you see this really personally, it's like, wow,
yeah.
you're actually pulling me out of here. I don't know how.
To have,
I find it very aggressive, but sometimes it's
yeah.
needed. It's very aggressive.
To have some group agreements, I guess. If you were meeting on a regular basis, you would set up some group agreements like we would at the Boys and Girls Club.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you what, these kids at the Boys and Girls Club, I got to witness this last week.
Uh-huh.
I helped them choreograph a dance every year. There's a small group of kids, and then they put on this dance. It's like a lip sync thing at a fundraiser. So this was our first meeting to choose the music. Of course, all these kids have different ideas about the music,
Yeah.
and then we vote. So we got down to the last two, and there were some strong feelings either way
Okay.
on these two songs. And so we decided, okay, so we've had our vote. We've got a split. Let's hear from you.
Hmm.
Express yourself, why you think it would be great for this group to do this song versus this song. These kids were absolutely amazing
Okay.
in their discourse with each other. They were calm, they were logical,
Uh-huh.
they acknowledged the other person,
Wow.
the point that they made, they complimented the point. I can see what you're saying. It was after we were all done and the final vote was had. I said, I just have to say that this conversation between 12 and 13-year-olds
Hmm.
in when the stakes are high, because it's I want my song,
Yes.
you demonstrated how a civil and productive conversation is done.
Mm.
You better than any adults
Yeah.
that I know.
Yeah. 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 True. Yeah.
And that's because they're taught this at the Boys and Girls Club about respect
Okay.
and about, it's state your point kindly, respectfully,
Hmm.
quickly, let the other person talk. They've been trained. So what we need to do is just do a better job of training adults.
Yeah, yeah. I think I remember high school very, very vividly in these subjects. I'm actually a trained electromechanic. Um,
Oh.
don't ask me to put any electricity in your house because it might blow up. It's been a while. Basic construction with wood, that's the limit. I will do that. But I was in a very technical streaming in high school, and uh, it's a man's world. I
Mm-hmm.
think I was in my fifth year when the first girl came into the group, which was in another class, in another direction, stuff like that. But she was a girl in a boy's world, and
Yes.
it was so strange. Those first couple of years, you had to be the man, and really bombastic and show everything. And emotion is for wussies, blah blah blah. And then the girl came in. First step, she was actually these days they have so many different names for it, but basically she has a very manly side on her.
Uh-huh.
She was female,
Uh-huh.
but she was very manly as well. So she was able to talk the man talk. Um, and then after that year, we had a merger of two schools, a girls' school and a boys' school. And of course, beginning of the year, you could just put your scent on it. It was uh, couples everywhere, boys and girls, everywhere. And then the
Yes.
whole language started to change
Uh-huh.
with the questions of, okay, we're not talking man to man here, we're talking man to girl or woman or whatever. So the
Uh-huh.
whole conversation changes. And the funny thing was,
Mm-hmm.
these old teachers, these guys are almost at the end of their career, they're used to
Mm-hmm.
talking to boys all the time. They kept on talking to the girls the same way, which caused a lot of conflict.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure. Right.
it was
Right.
at some point we were we loved it
Know
because
your
it was very
audience.
direct, really bam, I don't like what you're doing, this doesn't, you have to study better, blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah. And with these girls, they started crying in the middle of the classroom, and
Mm.
these guys don't know what to do. The girl is crying, and some of them had daughters, so they could kind of handle it and stuff like that. But you
Yes.
see a completely different dynamic on
Yeah.
generation wise, where now what I tell my boys, I have two boys, and we tell them regularly, if you come home with a girlfriend or boyfriend, you never know, we're always
Mm-hmm.
like this, keeping it neutral, everything is able to
Mm-hmm.
say. If they start crying,
Mm-hmm.
we just walk up to them and say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
cry it out, let us know when you want
Yeah.
to talk about it. And I think it's different from these last like 40 years, that people are changing towards more respectful, more open communication, more two-way communication on all
Yeah.
levels. And I
Yeah.
think it's not worldwide, that's maybe not everywhere, but I think in most of the world it's starting to catch on being more respectful. And if I
Mm-hmm.
hear these things, I'm so happy
Mm-hmm.
to hear them, because
Yeah.
a lot of conflict can be avoided by just going into silence, listening,
Mm-hmm.
asking
Yeah.
questions, giving the opportunity to the other person to learn. And I see all these things in what you do. It's so beautiful to see what combinations that you make on all these things. Yeah, lovely,
Thank you.
lovely.
Thank you. Well, if there's one book, actually three books that I could recommend
Hmm.
to folks if they want to um, dive in, and these three intersect. These three books, they basically have a similar message in terms of the power of brevity,
Hmm.
but one is more focused on better relationships.
Hmm.
One is more focused on business outcomes,
Yeah.
and then the other is sort of communication overall. It would help somebody, whether it's email, you're writing a newsletter, and then I apply it all to speaking as well, right?
Wow.
So the first is Smart Brevity by Jim Vandehey.
Hmm.
The second is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, the hostage negotiator.
Uh-huh.
And the third is Words Can Change Your Brain by Andrew Newberg, who's
Okay.
a physician. And he writes a lot too. I don't know if you've heard of him, like God Can Change Your Brain. A lot. He's very heavy into spiritual aspects of
Okay.
communication as well. But this one, Words Can Change Your Brain, this is more focused on, what do you call that? Compassionate communication.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Which has a lot to do with stop talking and listen, please.
Yes.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Rebecca, I think people are loaded now with some wisdom on all these different aspects of conversation, which is a very important part of our lives. It's the only way that we can express our inner self towards the outer self, towards the
Mm-hmm.
other self. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
am so happy we had this conversation, and I
Me too.
really want to give you the platform right now to tell us where can we find you, how can people engage with you. Shoot, right now, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, I am fairly active on LinkedIn almost every day. I don't post every day, but I'm always commenting
Hmm.
on others and engaging with others every day. Rebecca P. Murray. And then my website is RebeccaPMurray.com.
Hmm.
It's also showcaseyourshine.com, because I feel if you can be a great communicator, you are showing up in the most wonderful way possible. You are showcasing your shine to the world
Hmm.
when you're using your voice to ask for help, to help someone else, and to share your message.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So, listeners, viewers, go over to those websites and take the time to get to know Rebecca a little bit more, like I just did today and a couple of weeks back. I think you're doing wonderful things and helping in so many different ways. It's amazing. So thank you very much for your time, Rebecca, to come on the show today. And to the listeners, check out my new ebook, which is just being launched on my website, nicovandevenne.com. In the future, there will be another website, everlastingpodcast.com. Still need to request it, something on the to-do list. So, and absolutely remember, people, jump from head to heart and feel the beat within. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Everlasting Podcast. Let me leave you with a few questions to answer in the comments. How do you see the different topics we discussed during this interview? What are your thoughts? What stood out for you? Let us know in the comments or just send us your feedback. We launch new episodes weekly. Don't miss any by ensuring you are subscribed to the show. Click the follow button now. We depend on the organic growth of the podcast to inspire more and more people. So by giving us a 5-star review and sharing this episode with at least one of your friends who might be interested in the subject, you will significantly help more people become inspired. But more than anything, I am grateful to you for taking the time to listen to the show. If you are also a successful CEO, founder, or entrepreneur who has inspiring words to say, feel free to contact us for an interview at contact@nicovandevenne.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you again soon with more inspirational conversations on achieving everlasting fulfillment.